Ever wonder how a father-daughter duet beat the Beatles? 1967 was the year 26 different songs hit number one, while today's chart toppers hogged the spotlight for months at a time. These weren't random hits. Each one sparked conversations across America. There was one song that became a national mystery, the live TV moment that had network bosses panicking, and a TV-created brand that somehow felt more real than actual musicians. Today, we're counting down 12 number one songs that didn't just dominate the airwaves. They rewrote the rules of what American music could be. Number 12, Windy by The Association. Our journey starts with one of the lightest, most upbeat chart toppers of the year. Windy hit number one on July 1st and stayed there for 4 weeks, capturing that mid-year optimism with textbook sunshine pop. What made The Association different from every other harmony group flooding the airwaves? The Association delivered tight, local harmonies, light orchestration, and breezy lyrics that made it an AM radio favorite. Billboard ranked Windy as the fourth biggest hit of 1967. Furthermore, their polished harmonies and easy optimism gave listeners exactly the kind of carefree radio comfort they craved, standing apart from the more political and psychedelic tracks building cultural heat. However, as much as America loved these breezy harmonies, the year also craved voices of deep romance. Number 11, Can't Take My Eyes Off You by Frankie Valli.
You're just too good to be true.
Frankie Valli arrived with crooner energy colliding head-on with the rock generation. This dramatic ballad peaked at number 2, but who says second place can't pack the biggest punch? Valli's phrasing and the horn-driven arrangement made it a timeless wedding standard almost immediately. The track showcased how classic pop vocalists could still break through in a year dominated by rock and soul. Additionally, radio and record buyers saw it as a modern crooner moment, and people kept playing it in slow dance contexts. As a result, within months, it entered the standard repertoire beyond pop radio, proving traditional pop still held sway in 1967. Nevertheless, from sweeping romance, the chart shifted to something more playful, a duet that nobody expected to work. Number 10, Something Stupid by Frank and Nancy Sinatra.
I know I stand in line until you...
An unusual father-daughter duet that topped charts for weeks beginning April 15. When was the last time you heard of a family collaboration that actually worked instead of feeling like a publicity stunt? Something Stupid became the only father-daughter pairing to reach number one, straddling generations, while Sinatra's legacy met a youth-driven era. Reaction was a mix of fascination and affection. Many listeners found the duet charming. Some joked about the oddness, but radio embraced its warm familiarity. Furthermore, the track earned a Grammy nomination and proved mainstream audiences still bought lush, classic pop even amid rock's rise. Yet 1967 wasn't just about the old guard holding on, it was about new voices reshaping what pop could sound like. Number 9, Groovin' by the Young Rascals. A lazy Sunday vibe captured in 3 minutes. Groovin' reached number 1 beginning May 20th with a multi-week run, earning gold certification from the RIAA. How do you make relaxation sound revolutionary? The Young Rascals marked a shift in pop away from fast-paced teen rock, featuring congas, harmonica, and laid-back grooves. Critics called it the perfect Sunday record, and listeners heard a soundtrack for slow afternoons. In addition, the track connected listeners to everyday life with something simple, relaxed, and relatable, giving the Rascals credibility beyond teen singles. Meanwhile, while some songs painted lazy afternoons, others reflected pure joy and togetherness. Number 8, Happy Together by the Turtles.
I think about you day and night.
3 weeks at number 1, starting March 25th, Happy Together became an anthemic sing-along with an instantly recognizable earworm. In a year of cultural turbulence, What could be more radical than celebrating simple happiness? This track became a symbol of love and optimism during a turbulent time, proving that upbeat, feel-good tracks could still dominate amidst heavy cultural change. As well, audience reaction was a simple and durable mass sing-along appeal that functioned as a counterbalance to the heavier, more experimental records being released the same spring. Even so, not all hits were about carefree joy. Some carried haunting stories that made listeners stop and wonder. Number 7, Ode to Billy Joe by Bobbie Gentry.
Was the 3rd of June, another sleepy, dusty Delta day.
Southern Gothic storytelling is unlike anything else in the charts. Ode to Billy Joe reached number 1 on August 26, stayed there for 4 weeks, and Billboard placed it 3rd on the 1967 year-end chart. What happens when a pop song becomes a national mystery? Bobbie Gentry won 3 Grammys tied to the single's massive success. This mystery narrative invited speculation about what happened on Tallahatchie Bridge. Consequently, the record sparked national conversation and speculation while people debated the lyrics for weeks. Not only that, major outlets such as Life magazine wrote features trying to solve the mystery, elevating female singer-songwriters in mainstream music. Despite that, if the Gentry gave the charts a story full of mystery, the Beatles gave them something far more surreal. If you're enjoying this musical time travel, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You won't want to miss where we're headed next. Number 6, Penny Lane by the Beatles.
The motor car, the little gin.
The Beatles turned everyday Liverpool life into psychedelic poetry. Penny Lane hit number 1 on March 18th as one side of their double-A side with Strawberry Fields Forever. How do you make barbers and bus stops sound like the most fascinating places on earth? Paul McCartney's genius was making ordinary life feel magical, expanding pop's boundaries with a psychedelic pop snapshot of street characters. Fans and critics celebrated the Baroque production and the idea that pop could be sculpted in the studio. It felt inventive, yet oddly familiar, resembling a memory lane in a modern pop. Therefore, just as the Beatles stretched pop into new worlds, another band pushed America straight into psychedelic rock. Number 5, Light My Fire by The Doors.
China, we can only live.
The Doors' breakthrough hit number 1 on July 29, cementing Jim Morrison as a cultural figure with a psychedelic, rebellious sound that defined counterculture. What happens when danger becomes the hottest commodity on pop radio? This track bridged underground counterculture and AM Top 40, putting Morrison's persona front and center in pop culture. Youth embraced its darker, sexualized mystique, while older listeners were puzzled but tuned in. For instance, when the Doors performed this on Ed Sullivan, they were asked to change controversial lyrics, but Morrison sang them anyway on live TV, which led to the track showing how rock was no longer just entertainment, it was revolution. On the other hand, while rebellion stormed the stage, soul was rising with a power that demanded respect. Number 4, Respect by Aretha Franklin. When Aretha took Otis Redding's original and reinvented it into a feminist and civil rights anthem, she didn't just make a hit, she made history. Respect topped the Hot 100 beginning June 3rd with multiple weeks at the top. When did a single word become a rallying cry for an entire movement? The record's commanding delivery made it feel more than entertainment. It felt personal and urgent. Audiences and activists embraced it as an anthem of empowerment and dignity that instantly read as socially and personally urgent. Above all, this was more than a hit. It was a cultural declaration that showed music's power to demand change, later receiving multiple Grammy honors and crowning Aretha as the Queen of Soul. That said, While Arena demanded respect, the year also embraced songs that leaned on raw teenage intensity. Number 3, The Letter by the Box Tops.
Fast train, lonely days are gone.
In under 2 minutes, The Letter hit number 1 on September 23rd and stayed for 4 weeks, becoming one of Billboard's biggest selling singles of the year. How does a 16-year-old kid deliver more soul than singers twice his age? Alex Chilton proved that urgency and rawness connected with youth culture better than any elaborate production. This compact, high-energy shot of blue-eyed soul proved that immediacy and grit could outsell longer, more elaborate productions. In fact, fans reacted to its urgency and rawness, while radio programmers loved the format, short and repeat-friendly. Eventually, from raw brevity, the charts then found space for cinematic emotions. Number 2, To Sir With Love by Lulu. From Sidney Poitier's hit film came the year's best-selling single. To Sir With Love hit number 1 on October 21st, stayed for 5 weeks, and Billboard named it the number 1 song of 1967. When did a simple thank you letter become the soundtrack to a generation? The heartfelt ballad bridged pop music with Hollywood drama, resonating across generations. This song's emotional straightforwardness resonated widely. Listeners connected it to the film's themes of gratitude and generational bridge building, helping it cross demographic lines in a turbulent year. However, while Lulu held the crown for the year, the song that still echoes most loudly from 1967 lit up both TV screens and radios everywhere. Number 1, I'm a Believer by the Monkees.
I thought love was only true and fair.
Written by Neil Diamond and performed by the Monkees, this perfect pop confection was number 1 for 7 weeks beginning late 1966 and carried through early 1967 with huge airplay throughout the year. How does a manufactured TV band create something more authentic than most real groups? The TV-born pop group transcended their origins, becoming a phenomenon that symbolizes how 1967 began with pure joy. Audiences loved it as pure, innocent fun, with immediate sing-along appeal that cut through cultural complexity. As a result, the track dominated car radios, dance floors, and Saturday morning conversations, setting the perfect tone before the year's heavier sounds unfolded. From sunny pop to psychedelic experimentation, from crooners to soul revolution, 1967's number 1s reflect both the optimism and turbulence of an era when everything seemed possible. When was the last time rock, soul, pop, and psychedelia could all coexist at number 1? These 12 tracks proved that variety wasn't just appreciated, it was essential. Each song carried its own emotional weight, from the Monkees' manufactured joy that felt genuinely authentic, to Aretha's commanding demand for dignity that became a movement. The year gave us Bobby Gentry's mysterious storytelling that had the nation debating lyrics, Morrison's dangerous charisma that made Rebellion mainstream, and the Beatles' ability to make ordinary street corners sound extraordinary. 1967 wasn't just a great year for music, it was a testament to the power of art to capture every human emotion while reflecting the cultural shifts happening across America. Radio programmers didn't need algorithms to create playlists. The diversity happened naturally because audiences craved emotional complexity. 1967 proved that music could be both massively popular and culturally significant. These weren't just hits. They were conversations America had with itself during one of its most turbulent years. Which of these songs do you think could actually hit number 1 today? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications for more journeys back to the years when music actually moved the world.